when their guy plays some games.
Alright, hi everybody, Weather Guy here, and we are back with some more gosh darn great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and something exciting is going on. We are interviewing the witnesses for the first time, and it's daytime. I'm recording in the daytime. Everybody's out of the house, which means I can be louder, and that just feels great. I love being louder when I'm recording. I don't like having to worry about keeping other people up or anything like that. And it just feels good. I love having the house to myself sometimes. I had Panda Express for lunch, had a bunch of orange chicken. Oh, feeling good. Did some push-ups, you believe it? What a day. Anyway, let's get on with it. We have to meet the witnesses. We saw a brief glimpse of them last time. But we haven't spoken with them yet. We're about to. Let's see what goes on here. Also last time, we feel like we got the conclusion that our client likely walked down Calabash Road and juror number 6 was the one that fell in front of him. But we still have the big issue of our client's books being found next to the victim. So we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, let's get on with it. Let's see what the witnesses saw and how credible they are, because we have had cases in the past where witnesses omit, where they lie, or where they are just mistaken, right? So we'll see what happens. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. Oh my god. Oh gosh, I can't. They're too much. They look like they're straight out of a Barbie video game or something. They're crazy looking. Right? They look like their clothing is made out of Kirby yarn. This guy on the left is having a hard time standing still as well. And he has the strap of his helmet in his mouth. I don't know if that's the common thing. I think he's nervously chewing on it, perhaps. And the other person looks like a princess. I think they're likely to be... I'm just guessing ahead of time for no reason. I think they're likely to be brother and sister. The one on the left is obviously the guy who works at Scotland Yard. And let's see what happens. I love her buttons too. Those are cute. Oh yeah, that's definitely brother-sister acting. Or maybe husband-wife, but they look more like brother-sister. They have the same eyes. Alright. Constable royally beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir. Roly. And I'm Mrs. Beat. Patricia's... Oh, that is husband and wife. Okay. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town hero's wife. This guy is a dork. That's what he is. What's the story here? Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day. Right. No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beats is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually. Yeah, I think it was Gregson. He talked about how far he had to walk. Does that sound correct? Either that was Gregson or that was something I read in some other material recently. Indeed. Apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that meters are reading true, and they're responsible for keeping the streets clean, and lighting and extinguishing our street lights. There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. Yeah, we've definitely heard this before. Or at least from a different perspective, from Mr. Gregson. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet, I'd have collapsed long ago. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor. And it pans over to him and he's just the biggest nerd in existence. And a man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat? That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly? Dude, I'm forgetting his voice already. Constable Royally Beats, huh? Nothing to report on the streets, huh? Dude, he's out of it. He's totally done. What a great witness he's going to be. So we already had a juror who was fairly deaf. Now we have this witness who's too sleepy. Which is going to play into that unreliableness, maybe mistake prone that I mentioned earlier, you know. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir. Maybe I should do a more sleepy voice, huh? I'll do a more sleepy voice. I'll try to, at least, rather. It was our wedding anniversary, and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor, then the other scattered something before running off. Oh. Yeah. That's gonna be our murderer. And he's scattering the books of our client. So maybe our client dropped the books on Calabash and then another person picked them up. But we don't know motive or anything like that. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him clear as day. Right? Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. Are we not hearing Rolly's testimony? Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. Their testimony is true. The alternative course of events that you establish in the summation examination will be quashed. It's death nail, in fact. Because that alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate bad chancing. And on your wedding anniversary, too. Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed. Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Oh no. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Oh boy, those jurors are getting convinced. Except the man's so tired his wife has to do all the talking. Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense, commence the cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. Alright. Let's try to press Rolly. Let's press this dude. It was our wedding anniversary and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Alright, we gotta press on each of these points, just to make sure we understand. No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Beat? Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down the ground, doesn't it, darling? Dude, she's obsessed with him. It's kind of cute, honestly. What? I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Dude, that's what I gotta do. I gotta mix in my real yawns with Rolly's yawns. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Dude, I didn't even pay attention to what he said. I'm such a failure. Why did I do that? Sometimes I get so caught up in trying to make sure I sound, like, decent, at least, that I don't retain what I just read, you know? Oh no, Rolly, I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Interesting. Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy. She's obsessed with a guy in uniform, that's funny. Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day. Great. Holy hell. That's right, son, yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my lifestyle. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end. That's gonna get into evidence. What's that now? My warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty to patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Duh! And for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail. And without a grumble. Dude, he's doing so many salutes. He's so extra, dude. Because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then. Dude, I can't stop yawning. What's going on here? Just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot being married to a Bobby like me. I want to show my dear wife how much I care. Dude, that is so romantic. Look at that. He's Ryan Goslinging on her right now. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, what a charming couple. That young love is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps. And then, kindly describe what happened next. Alright. 2 silhouettes.
Hold it!
So all we really got from that first press was that Rolly was still in his uniform. Okay. 2 silhouettes? That's right. They were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. That's a very suspicious looking thing, isn't it? There was a rather plump figure followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim, as pictured in this print. Dude, I can't get their voices separated at all anymore. I failed. And like Mr. Natsume. I'm so bad at girl voices. Yes, unfortunately it does. And you're certain that at that time there was nobody else nearby? Oh yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there are street lights on Briar Road, you see. There was nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling? What? Yes, that's right. Of course, there was a light fog on the ground. But Briar Road is dead straight, and you could see a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's the street lighting as well. I didn't see any pedestrians. Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer please, Mr. Beats. Are you quite sure of what you've just said? Yes, sir. As a copper who spends all day every day keeping watch on the streets, I swear to it, sir. I'm as sure as my love for Patricia is true. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Adorable. Stars in their eyes. They're still maintaining there was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened. It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run. Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly. Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed? One of them just collapsed?
Hold it!
Scattered something. What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? It's definitely the books. What? Yes, that's right. It was some old books. I see. Old books. Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped a number of them all around where the victim lay on the pavement. Indeed. As clearly pictured in this photographic print. That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed.
Hold it!
We don't know that. We don't know that. Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. That wasn't the right voice for him, oh well. But we saw him. It was the man in the dock without question, sir. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose. Everything. Any more insults you want to throw in? That's right. He looked down at that poor defenseless woman with those terrifying intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away. I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please continue. Yes, sir. We ran straight over her, of course, and then went for out. Oh no! I can go back. Ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at the nearby police box. Was it your husband who went to fetch help? No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one, and after all, isn't that right, my darling? Dude, she has such a firm grip on him. What? Yes, that's right. I asked Mrs. B to go. I was off duty by that point. But our Bobby's never truly off duty. Of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. I felt Mary J. obliged. Sorry. That was a terrible joke. Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance. That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box. Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box? Depending on a crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia the way to the police box for the beat the incident fell under so she could go and report it. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There is nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know. And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of two model citizens. Oh, please, you're making us blush. Isn't he, darling? Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir. Let's move on, shall we? I believe it was the last one, yeah.
Hold it!
But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? We absolutely could! Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. Right. The light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he? Yes, and what of the fog? We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. But it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course. Oh, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm. That's alright, I take your point. Now could you stop shaking your husband about? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was that little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? Jeez, that was a tough tug. What? Yes. It was the accuser and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the top mouth, the snub. No. Unmistakable, sir. As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki that they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Ryu? Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beats saw what they say they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony. Oh no, then what do we do? Hey, Kazuma were here. What are you trying to say? I think you would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate. Oh, right. But simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Oh, why do I always seem to be so up against it? Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... Seems like you don't believe our testimony. Oh my god, that's such an adorable animation. Look at that. Oh, that's so cute. Dude, that's definitely me and my wife. She's got me. She's got me by the strings and she's got me. Look at him. That's so good. What? No. Oh no, it's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail, everything, like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one. I could, every single one. Oh, this could be interesting. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is? That will do, Mrs. B. No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rolly will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fists down. Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. B. Dude, his hat is... I was gonna say his hat fell off. His hair fell off. Might that appease you? Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? Dude, that's such a good animation for how people fall asleep standing up too. It's so good. It's so relatable. I used to do that all the time when I was in the Air Force. Like, there was a thing where people basically, especially during training with how early you get up, people would basically sleep march. You know what I mean? It's great. Let's definitely press this because I have a very strong feeling that this is going to be a contradiction for a couple things. First, I think it wasn't even 4 books. Look at this. 3 books. So first we're going to hear it out, then we'll probably present.
Hold it!
Yes, we know that there were books dropped at the scene of the crime, as you say. Those purchased by the accused at the nearby secondhand bookshop on the day in question. After I've been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the area for good measure. I am a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Rolly. And what was your husband doing at the time? Oh, he was lying face down. Oh, man. Face down in the snow sleeping? You have to be so dead tired to sleep face down in the snow. That's why his face is so red, dude. Poor guy, he works so hard. I shouldn't have called him a nerd. He's just exhausted from all the hard work. He works ever so hard, you know. Ever so hard, don't you, my darling? Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime. Well, Mrs. Beat, seeing as you've regaled the court with tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind as to recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene? I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? There was the picture of Monsieur Somebody or Other, and What's It Yearnings? Then there was A Meal for Someone, and the last one was definitely the Thingagummy something. You see? Yes, I see there are 1 or 2 holes in your memory. Oh well, they were along those lines, I'm quite sure. There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it. Well, what did I tell you? So I think it's very mean the way you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling? Dude, he's got a gun! Oh no! Get down! Are we good? Are we safe? Holy hell. Anyone who upsets my Patricia will have me to answer to. That's insane, dude. Put the gun away. What a lunatic. Terrifying. Yes, she really is. I love that they're saying she's terrifying and not the frickin' sleepy boy with the gun. That's it then. Oh, so that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Ryu? Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they say they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Yes, I feel the same. Why can't we just get Mr. Natsume on the stand? I feel like that would help so much. So that's true. Where does it leave us? Yep. Let's get that contradiction, baby.
Objection!
So, you're saying that there were 4 books? That's right, I remember all of them. The picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's It Yearnings, A Meal for Someone, and the Thingummy something. I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. But there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. Oh no, what flaw? Simply that at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4. What? This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books. Your books? Yes, and it details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. Only 3? But no, that can't be. I remember seeing them. There are 4 books, I tell you, 4 30-year-old books. Oh, really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see from this evidence as well, there are only 3 books. But I just don't believe it. I saw them there, I swear it. I saw them. I bet there were 4 books, and someone took one for some reason. That's what I think maybe happened. I don't know. No, madam, I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was a defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Oh no.
Objection!
Oh, here we go. It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? He sees right through me. But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. You can explain with bread. Sorry. I'm actually kind of tired, even though it's middle of the day right now. It's like almost 2 p.m. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. Oh. You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books. Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print. That print? You mean to say we're gonna get an alternate angle? Yeah, she's holding one. Allow me to present another. One that shows the victim's hand. She was actually holding this one. The lion's pride. Oh my god. This is what I had a feeling about. The murderer is Mr. Garadeb, because for some reason that I'm not entirely sure of, because he loves lions. That's maybe one of his books. And his wife, the maid, Joan, is in on it. That's why she kept throwing shade on our boy. That's also why she wasn't one of the ones we could persuade to go from guilty to not guilty. That's what I'm thinking. It's the 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. She was rotund. No! Quite unfortunate for us. Order. There, you see? Look at that. Look. Yes. It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling? Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir. Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. B, the titles once again, if you please. Oh yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other? The picture of Monsieur Lecoq? What's it, yearnings? Canterbury yearnings. A meal for someone. A meal for Gaborio, maybe. In fact, as the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional. Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, so flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless. But there are only 3 books on the receipt. Mrs. Beat mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print. I'm sorry, Counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. New theory. New theory. The victim is actually Garadeb's real wife. And Joan is an imposter of some sort. I don't know. I wonder what became of that 4th book. Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. You will submit that in the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, Counsel. My pleasure, my lord. The second crime... Sorry. Okay, we'll look at this as soon as we can. Prosecution rests. What's interesting, I think, about this picture, by the way, is the way the book is. It looks like it's been chewed on. Oh, I wonder if this was burned. Like the other stuff that was burned. Yeah. Oh, this is definitely the Garadeb's book. Like a million percent. Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt. You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state. Especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Oh, I wonder if the murderer... Ooh. I wonder if the murderer is not Garadeb, but the tenant that lives downstairs that speaks quite British. Or quite more Shakespearean. And he's in cahoots with the maid. Maybe. That's what I think happened. I think she replaced Joan without Garadeb knowing. That's what I think happened. She's suspicious. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. A book recently damaged by fire? Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me? Yeah. Come on. It's all coming together. I have nothing further to add. What? You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer route to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I? You see, everything we said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat. So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is a decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course. Mr. Ryu, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position. I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Ryu, think. What do you do now?
Objection!
I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend, it's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense. And you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as soon as you're concerned, as far as you're concerned, but I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down this debate at this point. Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole, indeed. For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. Oh? I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you'll have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable. Mr. Ryu! One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance. So the court will hear you, madam. Go ahead, Mrs. Sato, please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further? Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished. I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you? Mr. Ryu, what do you think? Yes. It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of advice is and why. We must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. Yeah, we did that, didn't we? Yes, I understand, and thank you, Mr. Sato. This is it. Sato has managed to win us one last chance here. Can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Okay. The book.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. Alright. Let's see if we can identify the clue. I thought they were straight up telling us no, but we're still going to get a chance to do it. Mr. Ryu, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track. Yes, I think you might be right. So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case, which this fourth book conceals? Well, there's the title. Then there's the burning.
Got it!
Yes, the vital clue, my lord, is here. Fuck. Fuck. Alright, that's okay. We'll do the burn part then. I think both are very viable, because that book is clearly Mr. Garrideb's, because of the title. I think the title is more damning than the burn, maybe. I know. I know this. Magnanimous, that's such a crazy word. Come on, give me my shot. Give me my shot. Make sure there's nowhere else. Yeah, it's gotta be this. I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What do you... Good gracious. It's been burnt to a crisp. So we had to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend? Oh. Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day? Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does the charred book hide? Charred book? There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. An outside chance certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer then, Counsel. Explain this theory of yours. Its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner. I beg your pardon? But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor. After all, it's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand is yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers. Good gracious, how can you possibly... Very well. I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry. Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. It's the boy, John Garrideb. Oh, interesting. Old knee injury means he can't be moving. But it's definitely his book, isn't it? The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb. The landlords. That was the wrong voice. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but... Of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garrideb herself. Oh my goodness me. I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garrideb's wife. I'm his maid. There's the ring. Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garrideb's house? I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say? You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garredeb's house.
Good lord. What sort of incident, counsel?
A fire, my lord. Yeah. Yep. Very good. The Lion's Pride, he said he lost the book even. I forgot that he mentioned that. That's perfect. The Lion's Pride. Oh, look at that face. The Lion's Pride.
By Jove, the very same title that's the subject of this debate.
Oh, dear me.
Objection!
This is visible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. Did she throw a book at him when she was mad? Perhaps. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garredeb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garredeb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful! I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Rolly?
Absolutely not, sir. I, Patricia, would never raise a finger against me, sir.
Yeah, all the favorite novels. Hurling things at me. Yep, his back was against the window. Books flying at him. Perfect.
The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him? Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and then landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
That's hilarious. No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident. There is no report of the Garredeb's window pane being broken. That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garredeb household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time and not even remotely? Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter.
Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garredeb's wife?
Absolutely. It's the one book he's missing. I believe it's a possibility, my lord. And it also happens to be the one that wasn't checked out. Oh man, she's mad. Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward, a mean coward. Really? Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight, honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake, how could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name. No, I assure you that was never my intention. Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. Dude, I can't believe I gave her this voice. I should box your ears. That's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable. Too right. Here we go. How long have we sat here now listening to this nippany spouting his fancy foreign theories? But, think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache. And he ran away from the scene too. I do declare you're right. It's true.
Yes, what did I tell you? Makes sense to me.
Huh? Sorry, what was that?
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Van Zieks?
Here we go. The drama. I'm surprised he never gets drunk. In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then, one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best of vintage. No, wait! The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time. I can't believe... I forgot I did a thumbnail too like this, where his foot is up, and I just titled it like, feet. And I'm in a Let's Play Discord server, where we all sort of talk to each other and give each other advice and stuff. And one of the channels is for a thumbnail showcase. And I showed the thumbnail for that, where he had his foot up. And I was just like, I'm finally giving the people what they want. And it's just like, feet. No, not saying y'all specifically want feet, just in general. There's people out there that are really into feet. And I feel like, in particular, Van Zieks likely has quite a following, quite a fandom online, if I had to guess. But I don't know. He definitely seems to have that type that attracts those the certain people, you know. What? No, forgive the discourtesy this time? We're also coming up on an hour of video, so we need to get to a good stopping place.
In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty.
There we go.
Guilty.
We're gonna have to do another summation.
Guilty.
Don't make me do another summation.
Guilty.
Fuck. Guilty again. This case is brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Thank you for that unambiguous response.
That's twice now. It's over. Mr. Rio, don't give up. Mr. Sato, have you forgotten? This battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting... Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You can still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. He's gonna do a face slap again soon. My lord, the defense asked to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve? I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. Here we go. To be continued. There's our good spot to end at. Next time, we're going to begin part 2 of the trial. Another summation examination. Perhaps we will hear from Mr. Natsume. Perhaps we will hear from Mr. Garadeb once again. And perhaps we will hear from the other tenant in the house, because he did seem to have the build to be the murderer. But who knows? That's all we got today. I had a fun time. I've been getting more and more on tangents lately, I feel like, with this game. And it's been enjoyable. And in general, this case itself is quite compelling, I feel like. Because it's not one like the second case where he murdered in a locked room, right? Where I was already sort of familiar with it from reading Sherlock before. And yeah, I'm excited. I really like this one. Thank you all so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening to my crazy voices. And thank you for being kind in the comments. For not completely crapping on my terrible voice work. That's very generous of you. And finally, make sure that you take care of yourselves. Make sure that you take care of others. And I will see you next time. Peace. Peace out.